Alright, so our kernel has finished installing. So now it's time to go on to configuring the system. First, we're going to set up our fstab file. So we'll nano into that, etc fstab. Now this is another place where I think my configuration is going to be slightly different than what the wiki says. Alright, so I need to click into this window here. Alright, so they have boot ext2. So we have dev sda1. That's where our boot is. And we did it as ext4. And let's see. Defaults. No A time. And is this still 02? Yeah, 02. And then dev sda2 is going to be our root. ext4. And we just do no A time here. 0, 1. Alright, so we're going to write that to our fstab file and exit. And now we can set up our hostname. So we're going to nano etc conf hostname. So by default it's localhost. I'm going to change mine to Gentoo box. Write that out. And let's see, I think we have to also, yeah, here we go, configuring the network. I think I already installed this net interface. Let's see. No replace, net, misc, net, ifrc. Yeah, I've already got that installed on my system. So now we just have to edit this text file. Let's see. Actually, before I do that, one important point just to point out here. In the Gentoo wiki, it tells you ETH0, but you have to check to see what the actual name of your interface is. Like on mine, I believe it's EMP-OS3. Yeah, so do an ifconfig before you actually nano into this file just to see what the actual name of your network interface card is, because if I were to put ETH0 here, I don't actually have an ETH0 card, so I wouldn't have any internet if I configured it that way. Okay, so now we'll nano into conf.d net, and we'll set it up. Config enp0s3 equals, I'm going to do DHCP. You should do DHCP. I mean, you could set up this static if you want, but I don't recommend it. Just use DHCP. It'll make your life easier. ENP0S3. Okay. Just want to make sure that I typed my network interface right. All right, and then yeah, I want to automatically start networking at boot. So we're gonna go cd into our initd folder, and we're gonna lns the loopback adapter to the net enp0s3 adapter, and then rc update add net enp0s3 default. All right, so now that's gonna start automatically when Gentoo starts up. If you're not using systemd, of course you're not gonna have to do the RC update. You know, systemd is Well, it's a lot of things. That's part of the reason I'm not using it. It's too many things sometimes. You know, I like to avoid doing too much on my system if I don't need to. All right, so now we're gonna edit our host file. And we want to change this to Gentbox. Actually, I think I called this Gentoo box. Yeah, Gentoo box. Gentoo box. So that way it's going to show up with that as our name instead of localhost or, you know, whatever else. Time to set our root password. Okay, and that's not a very good password, but that's fine. I'm installing this inside of a virtual machine for now. When I install this on hardware, I'll probably use a more secure password. Virtual machine's fine. It's not going to have anything too important on it. And okay, so this isn't necessary, but if you want to, you can just view your RC config. Typically though, you don't end up editing this file directly. It just gets edited when you do the RC add. And we don't have to worry about these things. But we do want to install some utilities. So these utilities, I think you can get away with not actually installing any of them, but it's not really a good idea. Like this one here, sysklogd, this is so that you can collect logs about things that happen on your system. Because if something breaks, you need to know what broke. And if you don't know what broke, then you're just, you know, throwing around monkey wrenches in the dark. I shouldn't have done that ask. See, that's what happens when you follow the Gentoo wiki too closely. Because the ask is completely unnecessary. It just makes you have to type yes. I mean, I guess it's okay if you're unsure about what you type, but generally I skip it. All right, of course we want that to run when the system boots. I'm not going to install a cron daemon, but I will install mlocate. Merge sysapps mlocate, because I like being able to locate files. And I'm not going to do SSH. Let's see, do we want to do file system tools? Okay, so we're using ext4. We don't actually need to install the file system tools. All right, so now we need to actually install our DHCP. We're not going to use the ask flag. cpcd. Let's see, I do not need dial-up. Thank goodness for fiber. And I do not need wireless. Thank goodness for Ethernet. All right, let's go ahead and get our bootloader installed on here. I'm gonna go ahead and do grub too, just cause I like grub. Grub is good. Grub is useful. And I think grub is going to take a little while to install, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the video. Okay, we're done emerging grub. So now we need to grub install dev SDA. And our installation finished. No errors reported. Grub mk config o boot grub.cfg. Oh, I was looking at my own notes. I can show you here on the Gentoo wiki as well. And there is one utility that I forgot to install. This isn't mentioned on the Gentoo wiki, but I'll go ahead and mention it here. So you may be familiar with pseudo if you've used any other Linux distro before. Pseudo stands for super user do, and basically what it allows us to do is run commands as a super user by prepending our command with sudo. And it's pretty much the same thing on Windows as running something as an administrator. You know, sometimes you'll try to merge a package, or you'll try to run an application and get an error that you need to be root to do it. So sudo allows us to do that without actually switching to our root user. So let's see, the app is merge app admin sudo. All right, and then that's going to take a few seconds to install. Let's see, is there anything else that we are missing? Yeah, I think that's the last app that we have to install. Alright, I paused the video because installing sudo took longer than I thought it would take. Alright, let's see. Is it time to reboot the system? I don't think we added our user yet, did we? No, we didn't add a user yet. But you know what? We'll add our user after we reboot, because you can do it. You could do it before, or you could do it after. But I'm just going to follow what the Gentoo wiki actually says this time, and I'm going to do it after we reboot. So you exit out of your chur-rooted environment, cd back into the real root directory, the original root directory, and then our commands are umount l mount gentoo dev shm pts, and then umount capital R mount Gentoo. And then we're going to reboot. All right, let's all cross our fingers and hope that I did everything correctly, because if not, we're not going to be able to reboot very well. All right, so we have our grub login page. This is looking good so far. We'll log in as root. And there we go. So now we do have an installed Gentoo system. Let's go to the finalizing part. This should be where we start adding users. Yep. So we're going to do user add mg users wheel audio s bin bash Kenny. And then we'll set a password for Kenny. Yeah. We know you don't like my password. That's okay. All right, and then here it talks about doing the cleanup. So after you're done installing Gentoo, there's no reason to have the stage 3 tarball on your system anymore. So you can go ahead and remove it, because it does take up a little bit of space. And let's see, here it is under the root directory. So we'll do rmrf stage 3. And I just had to type st and then hit tab for the autocomplete to finish it. So we'll get rid of there. All right, and then from here, you can pretty much take your Gentoo system in any direction you want. Oh, actually, one other thing I can show you guys how to do is how to set up your pseudo urse file. Let me look at my notes and see if I can figure out where it is. Okay, it's in Etsy pseudo urse, right? Yeah, looks like it's an Etsy pseudo urse. So let's go ahead and see. I don't have Vim, right? No, but I have VI. Yeah, I'll use VI to edit it. Etsy pseudo urse. VI. What? I thought I had VI. Do I seriously not have VI? Okay. Gentoo, what the hell's going on, man? I thought I had VI on this system, but now you're telling me I don't. Do I only have VI during the install phase? Because that's pretty stupid. I guess I could go ahead and emerge Vim, but I think Vim takes a little while to install, so we'll just use Nano. So you have this actual pseudo urse file in the Etsy directory. File's called pseudo urse. And this pretty much controls who is and isn't allowed to use pseudo. So what we want to do is we're just going to enable it for everybody that's in the wheel group, because that's the group that Kenny is in. And if I were to create other users who are going to be pseudo urse, then I would add them to the wheel group. Keep that in mind, of course, if you're going to be having multiple users on your system. I mean, I'm really just going to have Kenny on here. But if you're going to set up something where like people are going to be SSHing into it, make sure that you keep tight control over who you want to be able to be a pseudoer and who you don't want to be a pseudoer, because a pseudoer can do things that you might not want them to do. All right, so here we go. It's this line right here where it says uncommon to allow members of the group wheel to execute any commands. So we go ahead and do that, and we will write it out, exit, and then go ahead and give you guys a demonstration of this as well. So you see that, if I didn't do this, it would have given me an error when I try to do something that requires you to be a root user. So if I were to, for example, merge Vim, you'll see that a merge gives me an error that super access is required. And what you can do, there's actually a couple of ways you can do this. I'll teach you guys a bash trick as well. So some people will just press up to get their command to come back up, and then they'll press home, and they'll do it that way. Other people don't even know about the up arrow, and they'll actually try to sit there and type everything out. But if you try to run a command and you find out that you need to be a super user in order to do it, what you can do is type sudo $! So what $! represents is the last command that you just ran. So $! is equal to emerge Vim. And as you see, we're prepending sudo before it. So this is the same thing as sudo emerge Vim, just with less typing. And then this prompt will always come up. I believe it's just the first time that you run your sudo command. I think you can set it up so that this prompts you every time. It's probably in the pseudo urse file where you set it, but of course we don't want to deal with that. Type in your root password, and then you see it's starting to emerge Vim. So I'm not going to keep you guys around while this is emerging. And you have the Gentoo base system now. So I will be making videos on Gentoo in the future, more videos showing you how to actually set up your Gentoo system and start being able to get work done on it. One thing that was a little bit tricky for me to figure out how to do was to get X to run as a non-root user, because in Gentoo by default, when you install X, when you install your window manager, or if you're going to use a desktop environment, when you install all that stuff, it tends to run as root, which we don't really want. So in the next videos, I'm going to show you guys how to set it up and how to actually make things run securely so that your whole system isn't running as root. Make sure to like this video, make sure to share it, and make sure to subscribe with that bell notification on so you know when the next videos are coming out. Peace out, guys. Enjoy your Gentoo system.